Blog Talk Radio. Welcome to today's episode of 219 GreenConnect, where we explore topics about the environment and green living in Northwest Indiana. For past show archives, news, and upcoming events, you can check out our website at 219greenconnect.com or connect with us on Facebook or Twitter. We also have a podcast available via iTunes. I am honored today to have with me as a guest Tacy Fletcher from the Indiana Native, let me see if I can get this right, Plant and Wildflower Society. I am Kathy Sipple, and I am your host. And how did I do with that introduction? Did I get
great.
the words right? Okay.
You did.
Good. Well, Tacy is somebody that I've connected with at Green Drink several times. She's very active in the environmental community here in Northwest Indiana. She is the publicity chair for this group and also the newsletter editor. And I have been captivated by her ball cap that I've often seen her wear with this INPAWS. And finally asked her, hey, will you come on the show and tell us about it? So tell us all about your great passion.
Okay. Well, I am an environmental educator and passionate about all things natural in Northwest Indiana. And I love expanding that little circle out and checking out places in Illinois and throughout the rest of Indiana. And especially I'm interested in talking with people of all ages and their connection to nature. And so this organization, Indiana Native Plant and Wildflower Society, has kind of an interesting acronym. It comes out to be INPAWS. So occasionally when I'm wearing that cap you mentioned earlier that says INPAWS, or we're a bunch of us members together talking about INPAWS, people mistakenly think we might be an advocacy group for helping little critters like cats and dogs. But that's just not the case. But, you know, we are interested in natural animals as well, particularly in their native landscapes, who depend on the plants around them for not only their food supply, but the ability to get insulative material from the plant structures and possibly line their nests. So we are interested in everything about a native landscape, whether it's in a park, nature preserve, a privately owned preserve where maybe no one can go and visit without an actual invitation from the landowner, or stakeholders who border right along some important natural areas. And that can even include the watersheds around us. But our fascination really is a lot of times the wildflowers that bloom throughout the entire growing season, or we may have members who are interested specifically in sedges, which have extremely tiny flowers, not very showy at all, or people who are interested in mushrooms or possibly trees, and they don't really branch out and get to know a lot of other people that are of their interest. So INPAWS, or Indiana Native Plant and Wildflower Society, makes a fantastic outlet for your interest if you like going outdoors. It seems the more members I meet, the more of them spend their free time not only looking at native wildflowers, but maybe photography, or they may be involved in bird watching and an organization like that. And we even have some members who like to go out on our hikes and excursions to find a new place to exercise. They know that when they're initially coming on our walk that they may be slowed down, they may be looking at the wildflowers and learning their Latin names or their common names, but they're also checking out, this particular park has good bathroom facilities, it has excellent trails, it feels really good, I know I can come back and get my workout. So actually, our wonderful group is made up of people with all sorts of backgrounds, from scientific and academic to the people who just like to network and have a cup of coffee in a mug as they're walking on trails with friends, people who are like-minded. So now I am the publicity chair for the North chapter of Indiana Native Plant and Wildflower Society, which has actually been going on for 25 years throughout the rest of the state. And our North chapter encompasses 18 counties throughout the northern part of Indiana.
Wow, that's quite extensive.
It is. And there have been other efforts get Northeast and Northwest and North Central chapters started, but for one reason or another, they just kind of didn't quite work out. So about 2 years or so ago, maybe a year and a half ago, Steve Sass, our president, approached the state and of INPAWS organization and asked if we couldn't get a group going. And he was kind of met with the challenge of, well, yeah, that'd be fine, but you're going to have all these areas in Northeast Indiana, North Central Indiana, and Northwest Indiana, and we're going to put you all together and see if you can make a go of it. So we've got a real big challenge to try and move out into other counties that we have never had, at least to our knowledge, have never had members involved. And so for the next 2 months, actually, I'm going to be doing quite a bit of outreach in Stark County, and I need some ideas from the people down there that I hope to meet at their libraries as to where we can have hikes organized. I'm only familiar with one preserve in Stark County. It's Oval Preserve, managed by the Nature Conservancy. But I want some ideas, because these little secret places that maybe you have public access but are kind of off the beaten path, as it were, those are what we'd like to find out about. We are always very respectful when we come and visit. We are certain to have permission. We can arrange parking and carpooling if necessary. And then the most important thing is not only has this individual that's told us about this fantastic little hidden preserve respectful of the property, but now you've got possibly 10 or 15 other individuals who fall in love with it. And when you fall in love with a beautiful natural area, you tend to want to take care of it. And in our field, we call that being a steward of the land. Mm-hmm. Just like in the olden days when there were monarchies, a steward was someone who helped to prepare the next regent to run the land, to govern the people, and provide for the the natural resources in that kingdom as well. And so today, a steward is considered someone who just wants to promote respect and it to grow into what it's fully supposed to grow into. And so one of the little things that is part of our name, Native Plant and Wildflower Society, we do encourage folks to only use native plants if possible, wildflowers, native trees, native grasses and forbs, if that's possible. And if they need a little bit of help removing an invasive species from their public preserve, we're happy to publish the fact that you're going to have a work day and what one can expect. So Great. Well, I just want to interject here for 1 second. You just told me so many things that are make me have questions and connections, and that's kind of how this tends to roll. But just this week, earlier in the week, I had an interview with Paul Quinlan from the Shirley Hines Land Trust. Do you work with them very frequently? Yeah, actually, I was employed with their organization for a little over a year in the mid-2000s and really got my feet wet working with invasive species where the Shirley Hines Land Trust is concerned. And I like the fact that they were spread out over 3 counties, and I had some fabulous experiences visiting some of their preserves in Lake County for the first time and seeing some plants. For the first time with them. But
he had mentioned an opportunity that came up. They acquired a new parcel in Chesterton, and I'd have to go back to the show to get the notes of exactly where that is. But it's just been deeded to them, very recently, within the last few months. So they've not seen it during a growing season yet. And he happened to mention that it is, it does have a lot of sedge plants, and that they're looking for volunteers to come out and help kind of take inventory of what's there. So I don't know if that would be something that your members would be interested in. But again, that's what I love to do, connect the dots.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, we have academics who are part of our group and are interested in helping with that sort of thing for sure. And since not only Paul and Jim and Danny, who I think you had on your show earlier this week, we network with those individuals constantly.
I figured you did.
And also the Nature Conservancy, which owns a number of properties throughout here as well, and state and federal officials as well. So I have contacts, friends and associates with the National Park System. I tend to volunteer on Sunday mornings up at the Indiana Dunes State Park. So there's a lot of networking. We share information, And so not only that opportunity that you mentioned of them needing some help with actually going in and getting a record of the exact types of plants that are available, I can put them in touch with people. But when they decide that the garlic mustard, which is a bad invasive plant, is coming up in that new acquisition of theirs and they need help, I can actually, because I run the Indiana Native Plant and Wildflower Society's newsletter every month, I put that out to our membership. I can advertise that we're going to have a work day in cooperation with that entity. In fact, I have an edition, a February edition coming out tomorrow for all of our membership, and it will not only list a Shirley Hines Land Trust work day that's coming up, but it's listing a Kankakee Sands work day that's coming up in February, and also one at the Indiana Dunes National Lakeshore, because we have found that people who love the outdoors, we really don't mind seeing that the sign at the front of the preserve is managed by this organization or managed by that municipality. We are interested in going in there and giving them a hand. And ever since I worked for the Shirley Hines Land Trust, I've actually become very proficient at pulling up garlic mustard plants, almost to the point where I am very sick of it, but I also know how important it is to pull these out of our preserves, because then the biodiversity really has a chance to build in the right kind of native wildflowers and shrubs and forbs and so forth. So.
Great. I actually have a friend who lives up in Ogden Dunes who, I said earlier we met at Green Drinks, and if you don't know what Green Drinks is, it's a monthly meetup. We don't actually drink green drinks. It's just environmental topics around people that drink coffee or tea or wine or beer or whatever you want to drink. But my friend Randy actually made a actual green drink out of garlic mustard. She looked up the nutritional value of garlic, or is it called mustard garlic or garlic? Now I'm getting confused.
Well, it is a mustard, which we have lots of native mustards. The reason why it has the common name of garlic mustard is because the moment that you crush it or pull it from the ground, it's very pungent in the aroma of garlic, but it's really not a garlic at all. It's a mustard.
I tried the drink. I wasn't crazy about it. I gotta say, but it's a free source of nourishment or whatever. So I thought that was pretty innovative. She's pulling invasive species and then consuming them. And then just one other thing I'd like to say too is that Sarah Weaver, my intern that's been helping out with Green Drinks and 219 GreenConnect, she has been trying to get all of your events on our calendar so that we can help you promote what you're doing too. So, let's work together on it. And if we're missing anything on the calendar, that can be found at 219greenconnect.com/calendar. That's really one of the primary reasons I do this, is to help people understand, what are the opportunities out there, how can they plug in. And, if you're in Hammond, you might not want or be able to drive to LaPorte or vice versa. So trying to get all kinds of, opportunities around our region. And wow, you've got a big region, so let's give her a shout out for anybody in Stark County that knows of some great places, that would fit.
Well, actually, your listeners group, your regular listeners and people who check in on the podcast and so forth, you're right. They may only, want to check out things that are near Hammond. One of the things that we've talked about as a North chapter is we are going to start holding hikes and meetings and so forth, both in the east part of our constituency and in the west part, not on the exact same day, so that those who live in the middle, which would be persons like myself and our president, Steve Sass, could possibly join both. If we felt like it. Or if we couldn't make one because it was being held in Fort Wayne on a Saturday, we could go, oh, that's right, but tomorrow there's one being held, one of our INPAWS meetings being held in Valparaiso, for example. So, and we are trying to find some more spots in Stark County, and another county we'd really like to branch out into is LaGrange County. We think there's a great amount of possibility there with the folks who live around there, and we meet up at other different things, but they just aren't INPAWS members. So speaking of INPAWS members, and
let's
going ahead and
people how they can find out about the organization, how they would get information to you if they've got it, or how they can join, that would. Yep. I don't know if that's where you're going, but I think we need to do a little shout out for that.
Yeah, we have a wonderful website that is organized by the state INPAWS, and it's at www.inpaws.org. And then if you just add /membership, you'll go directly to the membership page. Now, I am a full-time student, just recently achieved my undergraduate degree and now pursuing a master's degree. So I was able to join as a student, which is only $10 for a year membership. That is a really fantastic deal. So if you consider yourself to be a lifetime learner and are taking courses at a community college and so forth, you can get the deal. And it's so important to network with people that you have a common interest in. So I would recommend people who are not necessarily looking at the biological sciences but know that they enjoy public speaking like I do, or communication, or you just on your own have an interest in green activities and you want to network, or you're a birder. This would be the great opportunity because you will be networking with people who have similar interests. Maybe you want to learn about, permaculture or silviculture or, composting and so forth. There will be members right beside you at one of our walks or membership meetings that you can chat with about those sorts of interests. But we're there to see the flowers, to check out the preserve and learn some names and some things. People who want to, who can't qualify as a student, it's only $25 for them and their spouse, or it's called a household membership. Just $25 for a year to join INPAWS. And you get 4 times a year, you get the state journal that they send out through the mail. But if you join the North chapter, which I'm a part of, you are actually entitled to every month receive the electronic-only newsletter that I put out. And I've got to say, I've been having so many people from outside of INPAWS offering their articles, their poems, their photography to go into this journal. And it's really exciting to see how popular it's become. And to enjoy that, I don't mind if people want to email me just to check it out. I will send them a complimentary copy of the latest newsletter, or an older one if they wish. If they said, I need one with photographs of flower, I'd send them the November issue. And then that's just enough of a tease, and they can make their decision of, yes, this is the sort of organization I want to hang out with, and then they can join. Or, you know what, I thought it was going to be about classic cars, and they find out it's not. Or, I thought it was going to be about pets. Well, that's
you'd think once you drill down to the membership app, you'd kind of get a clue on that. But, I understand. Might not be for everybody. Exactly. Well, it sounds like an excellent value and a lot of education packed into, the newsletters and the outings. So if they go to the website, they can, it looks like, download the application. Is there a way, do you have an email through INPAWS, or would you prefer that they just go through the website if they've got information about? So I can give our president's email address. Okay. That's
pretty easy to remember. I don't have my own that's designated yet, but Steve Sass is our president, and his address is simply north@inpaws.org. So any questions anyone wants to have, that's north@inpaws.org. He'll receive, and he then dissipates out those questions, whether it's about membership, he can send it to Sue. If it's about the newsletter, he sends it to me. And as board members, we'll make sure that there's a response and we answer someone's question. But now with the search engines out there being so fantastic, one doesn't really have to, make sure that they grab pen and paper to hear exactly how I said that. Just go ahead and start using some keywords like native plants and Indiana, and it won't be long before our website pops up as a choice. But hope to have our own website pretty soon, but it hasn't happened yet.
Good.
So in the meantime, we'd encourage people to go to the inpaws.org membership, and they simply at that time choose what county they're from, and let's say they chose Jasper County because that's where they're from. They would be placed in the West Central Indiana Native Plant and Wildflower Society's chapter area. But if you actually worked and did a lot of your business in Porter County, for example, which happens, then you could choose that county and you'd be included in our area, which has the plant press that comes out every month.
Okay.
So, but we'll work with you. If you want to ask questions first and find out who has the most happening hikes, that might be us. Well, we'll let you join. In fact, we have some people from Michigan that are in our chapter, and a lot of folks from the Chicago area, just over the Illinois border. They want to be a part of our group because they've made friends, and it's a great bunch of people to hang out with.
Right. Well, and, just to be able to go out and hit the trails with somebody who is ahead of you on the learning curve, that's so invaluable. I've had that experience a few times, and it just enriches what I see as, oh, that's a pretty flower, and I've got my smartphone, and I'm taking pictures of it, uploading it to Facebook. All my Smarty Pants friends then come in and tag it and say, oh, that, it's been very interesting to find out in retrospect, hey, that's actually an extremely rare, plant, or hey, that's an invasive species, maybe you shouldn't be saying how beautiful it is, whatever, but to be actually there and learning, I think, would be so cool. So do you guys announce your hikes then once you're a member? You kind of let people know what the scoop is and how they can meet up? Okay.
Absolutely. So if they become a member of our North chapter, they'll get the plant press every month sent out to them electronically. And I, as the publicity chair, am supposed to be, right on top of the Facebook and, postings, which Steve has been helping out with a lot as well. But as a matter of fact, in March, we will have in our plant press the list for the entire year, the hikes in both ends of the 18 chapters that I mentioned, and a couple even in the center, and the details, the person you can contact with questions, whether or not a gate fee is charged, whether or not it's encouraged that you carpool, but all those details should be in the March. But not only will it be in the March one, I will continue to put it in June and what's coming up for the next month and in August and so on and so forth. So we're really that's our big focus. So I'm going to hit you over the head with, you've got to check out this preserve in such and such a county. It is a can't miss hike, And you'll even see us get even more excited if that's at all possible. How can I contain my enthusiasm when I say, so-and-so from the such-and-such Botanical Society has just decided to join this hike. So even though they're not actually our hike leader, we've now got two people that are so qualified, we should, now I'm just saying this in a silly manner, but we should, bow at their feet and as plant gods or goddesses.
And of course I may actually bow.
I do get a little overwhelmed when it comes to these persons I've been hearing about for years as being, the movers and the shakers when it comes to ecology or botany. And I get in their presence a little bit, and I only know common names of flowers, but it's all right. They don't talk down to me. I explain to them, what I do, which is nature interpretation for park visitors, and they have a certain respect for what I do too. It always comes down to they may be visiting a preserve that I'm more familiar with, and they can turn to me and say, okay, so where's the bathrooms and the drinking fountains? And I can say,
which
hey,
trails
I know
are
something.
Accessible
how
or
do
not
I get there
underwater.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Or what's allowed? Can I take a sample of this back home, and I can let them know, where we are and whether that's allowed or not.
Well, that's really cool. I feel like every conversation I have on this, I just, selfishly, I learn more, and then I just want to share what I know, and again, just connect those dots. A couple things I'd like to just mention coming up that you might be interested in, or maybe your members would be interested in, is the February Valparaiso Green Drinks. We're going to have wetlands expert Greg Quartucci from Cardno JF New. I don't know if you've ever heard him speak before. I got to hear him at Nature Palooza last June, which was held at the Swerner Nature Preserve. So that was a pretty cool experience. I'd never been to the Swerner Nature Preserve. That's, kind of private. The family lives there, but it's a neat area. And he was speaking there specifically about wetlands. And he'll be talking about using native plants for the mitigation of the the toll road. I might have that a little bit wrong, but I think that'll be really, really interesting and right on topic with, the native plants. Yeah. So if you're able to come and talk about your group that night, we'd sure love it. That will be on Monday, February 11th, 6 p.m. at Cornucopia Coffee in Valparaiso. So you can learn a little bit more about that. And then we're actually going to be teaming up with the Valpo, oh boy, I'll probably get their name wrong, Lakes, there's like a Lakes Conservancy group, and they are going to be doing Nature Palooza once again I believe it'll be in June. And I think your group would be great, great at that. They're always looking for speakers, and, they have a nature hike as part of that, so that might be kind of cool to check out. But very interesting.
I'm really good friends with the organizer for that. That's Walt Redinger, who lives in Valparaiso. And so, absolutely.
Cool. Good. It's a small world story, but I found that he is my neighbor across the street, which is kind of funny. We've been talking for about 2 years, and then only found out, and he walks so much, and, I walk a fair amount, so it just seems like two people, both in their homes talking about the environment, might have figured out that they lived across from one another. Anyway, very nice man, and, but he's got a lot of interesting topics going and events. So what's your upcoming thing that we should know about? Do you have a cool hike or an event, sometime in the next month or two?
For the cold weather, we go indoors, and we just had in January a very successful meeting in our neck of the woods. And we actually held our meeting at the Indiana Dunes Visitor Center, just south of the state park on Highway 49. We had a fantastic turnout. In February, for cold weather, we're having a meeting indoors, and it'll be in Goshen, so that'll be a little bit far. But in April and going through October, we will have hikes in our region that we are organizing, and as I mentioned, it'll be out in our March edition. And all anyone has to do is contact Steve at north@inpaws.org. That's his email address, and he can get your email address over to me, and I will send you a complimentary copy of the plant press, and you can specifically say, I only want to hear about the hikes, and that's fine. Then I'll know to not send you any extra editions, so just wait for that March edition so you can kind of plan to come along. All of our hikes are open to the public, so I would say that's the thing to let potential members know about is check us out on the web, and email Steve at north@inpaws.org, and we'll start working with you. So,
so your hikes are open to the public. You don't limit the hikes to members. People can come and check it out, and then say, "Gosh, I want to become a member."
Absolutely.
Okay, well, that's
or
cool.
They can check it out and decide they don't want to be a member. Maybe they have a $200 membership to their Rotary Club or something.
Yeah. Well, $25 is pretty
friends.
darn affordable. Yeah, I'm thinking I'm already in. Like thinking I need to check out one of these hikes. So I will definitely be asking you for one of those newsletters. And then I'm wondering, do you post on your Facebook group events tab? Is that any place where I might find events?
Well, you know what? I've not really checked out. Oh, yes, we do have an events tab.
Okay.
I always just paste or anything that I'm interested in sharing directly on the front page. I hadn't even thought about the events tab. And as a publicity chair, I'm obviously going to have to become more knowledgeable about that. But, Indiana Native Plant and Wildflower Society does have a Facebook page. Good. Steve is talking about creating our own, in which case there will be links back and forth. Okay. And all this stuff is real easy to find just by keyword searching.
Yeah, sure. And now Facebook's got the graph search, which they're launching. It makes it even easier to find this kind of stuff. So I know we're just about out of time for today, but if you're just joining us toward the end here, I'm Kathy Sipple. You've been listening to 219 GreenConnect, and my guest has been Tacy Fletcher from the Indiana Native Plants and Wildflower. Why do I always think I'm going to mess that up? Society. And really great information about their membership opportunities. You can find out more at their website. It's www.inpaws.org. So that is about all the time we have for today. I want to thank you, Tacy, for sharing your passion and your excitement about and your vast knowledge about native plants. So I think you've given us a lot to think about.
Excellent.
I hope you'll
Thank you,
come back and join us again. Thanks so much.
I would love that.
Good.
Thank you.
Have a great day. Bye-bye.
You too. Bye-bye.